Now, obviously, you're famous in Ireland, especially for that goal. So I want to touch on, Ireland going forward. Obviously, Stephen Kenny has come in. He's got big games coming up in the Nations League against Bulgaria and Finland. How do you think he'll transition? Obviously, he's, a very good manager in the League of Ireland, but now this is, a big step up from how do you think the players will react?
It was a massive step up. I was really wary of the way Ireland went about the process. I know it was under a different regime, under John Delaney. I thought his comments of giving Mick McCarthy the job, taking Ireland so far, and then Stephen Kenny taking over from him was a bit of a weird scenario. I spoke to John actually about it, and he said he wanted to put some concrete foundations in where the fans and of Irish football were looking forward as if they had a plan. That's what they were going to do. Like England bringing in Southgate, moving a young manager into that role was the way the FA did it. And he wanted to sort of replicate that and give Ireland a bit of a, people looking at it where they were moving forward and they were going to be happy with that. I thought it was a bit strange because if Stephen Kenny had done really, really poorly with I think it was the 23s he'd done, and Mick McCarthy has done really, really well with the first team, how was that kind of transition then going to look? It was going to be very, very difficult. But as much as Mick done really, really well, Stephen Kenny did okay with the job he had in hand. I think the step up is massive, mate. I think international football is a strange one for managers. I had the privilege of playing under Jack, World Cup winner, had done so well, 88 and 90. Jack had this unbelievable respect off the players. We all wanted to play for him. There was no hint of wondering what he was doing, how he was doing it, and questioning anything that Jack did. Mick was the same, captain of Ireland, great playing career. We had total respect. Brian Kerr, he came in. I must stand up and say I actually wondered what he was doing, actually, how he got the job. What was a bit bewildered by the appointments, in all honesty. And then, when I hear, up to date, Stephen's appointments, I thought it's a pretty big ask from a player who really has only managed, League of Ireland teams and a team in Scotland. So I'm always wary about sort of the pedigree, of a manager stepping into an international role. But he likes to play attractive football. It might be a refreshing change. It might be something that Ireland needs. Players can connect with what he wants to say. He's got a team that has had plenty of experience. He needs to find goals from somewhere. But he's got some good players coming through. It'll be interesting to see who he picks for the Bulgaria and the Finland game because, as you know, Slovakia coming up is the all-important one.
When in your playing days, when you were called into the squad, obviously when Brian Kerr got the appointment, did you almost feel, I don't know how to word this correctly, but with him stepping up from like the League of Ireland international job, did you look at him slightly different to when you played for Jack and then Mick McCarthy took over? Did you look at Brian Kerr differently? And I'm like, the question I have really is, will the players look at Stephen Kenny differently from when you had that experience with Brian Kerr? Possibly.
Footballers are, they're made up differently now. I mean, I think Lenny will tell you, managing a team now would be completely different to managing a team mid-90s, up to the 2000s. Spoke to Ryan Giggs the other week, and he was talking about Wales, and he was talking about how you've got to approach players now, how you've got to talk to them. I think gone are the days now. Maybe Lenny's still one of them who might lash something at a player, I don't know. But I think gone are them days, the hairdryer treatment, we called it, didn't we? I think them days are very numbered, if not extinct. I think, when Brian come in, I knew he'd done the youngsters with Ireland. I knew he'd done, particularly well with, I think, Damien Duff's team and Robbie Keane's team. But, then to step up into an Irish team where you're in a dressing room full of, players who play at the top level, players who have won things, playing for top clubs. I think a manager who, mightn't have a top pedigree, I think players might question that. Yeah, I do. I think they might think, does he know what he's doing? Does he really know what it's like to challenge for honours, for Premier Leagues, for whatever it may be, for cups? I don't think Brian's playing career is basking in glory, and I think sometimes players might question, does he know what it takes to manage a team of elite sportsmen, elite players? I found his training, when I went in, I'm sure this is going to make headlines, but I found his training very basic. I thought the way he went about managing the squad, quite basic. And I was, a little bit bewildered to some of the things that he wanted to do, some of the things that he was trying to do. And I just questioned whether he was going to get the best out of an international squad.
And I believe you did have a run-in with them. Am I correct in saying that?
I didn't have a run-in with Brian at all. I mean, I know on Off the Ball, on the road show, which me and Stan were trying to get there, and unfortunately it was adverse weather, wasn't it? The planes turned around and we couldn't go. And then, I'm listening, to Brian talk about a situation that I know exactly where I was, and I knew exactly where I took the phone call, where he asked me to come over and do a press conference with Roy Keane, put everything to bed, because me and Roy had clashed, Sunderland, Manchester United, put everything to bed and try and move forward. I was injured at the time. I asked the physio. I didn't think it was a good idea at the time anyway, but the physio wouldn't let me go. I had to get fit for Sunderland first and foremost, and I didn't have the time to get across to do a press conference. And I think Brian, might have used the word bullshit, I think was the words he might have used. I'll have to have a look at it. But I know what phone call happened. I know where I was when I took the phone call, and I know that's what Brian wanted to happen. I didn't agree with him at the time, but I couldn't go because the club wouldn't let me. But I know that situation happened. Brian has a different recollection, obviously. But, it was water under the bridge. I've got no problem with Brian. Brian's Brian.
Oh, look, there's three sides to every story. There's yours, his, and the truth, so we'll never know. But anyway, right, last question I have for you. Are Ireland going to qualify for the Euro 21?
It's funny, really, because I think, with the pandemic, I think we've seen all kinds of teams and players come back in different situations. Paris Saint-Germain are qualified for the Champions League final. I think the pandemic has really helped them in reaching that final. We've seen year on year out PSG winning the league by Christmas, not being able to keep up momentum, and then dropping out the Champions League, which they've wanted for so long. I think the fact that they've come back and it's been intense, they've been together in Lisbon, I think really helped. They've had the easier side of the draw, obviously. But I just think the fact that they've been involved in this bubble of intensity of football has really, really helped them, and they've played really, really well. I've enjoyed watching them play, and I think it's helped them. What I'm trying to say is, I think, we just don't know. I think if we'd have played it without the pandemic, I don't think we would be favourites. But I think going into it, I just think there's become a level playing field. I think if everyone steps up to the challenge with Ireland, depends on how Stephen Kenny plays, which team he plays, which formation. We're going to have to obviously have a look at the two games, that are going to come before that, Finland and Bulgaria. That'll give us some idea where the players are up to. But I just think going into a game of that intensity, I think under the current circumstances where everybody is with football, I think might be a bit of a leveller. And, I'd like to think that, the luck of the Irish is on our side. And I would just like to see for the fans and for the country that we qualify and we have something to look forward to, because as there's no better place when Ireland qualify for a major tournament than being in Ireland. And hopefully we do qualify and I'll be there.